Well, ladies and gentlemen, now quickly we move on towards the next keynote presentation, and we have Mr. Seshasai Kandrakota, Managing Director, ATC India Utility Industry Lead Accenture, and along with him we also have Mr. Vibhu Datta Panigrahi. Yes, over to you, sir. All yours,
Thank you.
all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm sure everybody is staying safe. Obviously, I think that's the first thing which everybody is talking nowadays. Um, so, without much ado, I know we are slightly behind the schedule, but still, I'll try and keep things interesting and a little short, and I'll touch upon a few topics which are of very good importance. Before that, before I share my screen, wanted to just talk about like who am I and what am I in Accenture. So one second, let me just share this. Yeah. So I'm lead of the. So I come with a background of working in the industry for about like 27 years now. So I have been in the industry all through in the energy and utilities combination, and I lead the industry team for overall resources and more so utilities for Accenture in India. So today I'm so very privileged to be part of this session, and what I would be talking through is pretty much we'll be covering a few things, right? So one is what exactly are the global trends when we are talking about rollout of a smart meter, rollout of AMI, and how the world is reacting. And interestingly, so we have seen these smart meter rollouts happening even during the pandemic, and more so during the pandemic because we wanted to go very fast on having touchless. And a few examples which I'm going to talk through today are going to cover the examples from our customer in UK. So these are the things which I'm going to touch upon. Then we are talking about like what are the typical challenges which we need to be aware of and how do we address them, right? So whether it is during the rollout and post rollout. So when we're talking about the smart meters and AMI, it's not about just rolling out a smart meter. It's not about implementing a solution. It's about post rollout. How do I really take the best advantage of the data available? So and then like from an Accenture perspective, we have a bunch of assets, a plethora of assets and accelerators. These are the ones which I'll just like touch upon a quick uh, screen grab of the video has been taken for a few of the assets which are already in operation with my customers across the globe. Not many, at least a couple of them across the globe. So these are the things which I would want to talk through, and then of course we'll get into the Q&A as well. So with that said, if you look at what exactly is happening overall across the globe, right? Like so, the size of the market is pretty big. Now we are talking about 8 billion further investment in the next 5 years or in the next 4 years, maybe another 7 billion or so. And then when you're looking at even the number of meters, right now we are at like roughly about 1.6 million, 1.7 million meters all through, and then we are looking at 3.2 billion, and 3.2 billion is what we are heading towards. Now, if this is what it is, let us look at what exactly are the challenges which we want to focus on. Now, I will start with the defining of a planning of overall meters. How do we want to deploy that? And that is basically if you're looking at like deploying a smart meter by the discoms or by utility companies. First of all, like you will have to be prepared, and then you will have to be ready and have a proper baseline plan. So you would have the forecast available, then you will have the resources, both people as well as the assets, and then over a period of time. So I'll walk you through a few of the assets, and when we go to the next slide, and I'll talk about some real life stories, right? Like so, over a period of time, when you are going ahead with the deployment, you may have hiccups or you may have changes, and then like you have to revise the plan. So, do you have a right kind of tool set where you will be able to ensure and do a what if analysis and course correct your planning? And then you are looking at like the entire supply chain readiness of whether my meters are available at the right time or not. So I'm looking at the productivity, not about your own field force, but also there will be a bunch of subcontractors who are going to be working with you. So you need to have certain tools and assets which are supposed to be managing your entire productivity. And while these are all the things which are talking about, from defining the plan to managing the productivity on the field, are about deploying during the rollout, then comes the things which are like, so the security management happens during the rollout as well as post rollout. Right now, you need to ensure that like the security, whether it is like attacks on the network, attack on physical hardware, or attack on the data. So how do I really address that? How do I ensure I have certain things which are like over the air, the firmware upgrades can be provided so that the meters are secure. So these are the things which you have during, I mean, security management is during the implementation as well as post. And then once you go ahead and implement, that's what I was talking about in the previous chat when we were talking about, is not about just going ahead and implementing. It is about how do I provide the best of the best to my end customer. So that's where you are looking at ensuring that like there is no failure, and you are trying to monitor the loads, and you are trying to optimize the performance of the meters. Beyond this, there are things that like, okay, so once you capture the data from the meters, how do I really address and how do I really drive certain campaigns which are going to be even more beneficial for the customer? So these are the things which are there. And then like if I jump into it, so now let's look at, considering those trends, let's now look at like what exactly is the journey towards the smart metering. So as we spoke, we were first talking about a rollout planning, and then we are talking about installation ramp, complete ramp up, and then we are talking about managing the alerts. The first two things are about rollout and the planning and the installation. After that, you are looking at the data post implementation, right? Like, so how do I manage the alerts? How do I look at the health and check the health check and do the analysis on the meters, right? Like, how do I manage the events? And it's not about just like an event, capturing an event. It's about if I have to resolve an event, how do I automate it? I mean, how do I bake in a robotic process automation to self-heal things? And at the end, so if you look at the third, fourth, and fifth circles, it's about how a utility is going to effectively manage the role meters, smart meters on the field. And the last one is more so to the end customer. Me as an end customer, if I'm going to be end consumer, uh, and if I'm going to get some suggestions as to how I will be able to change the pattern of how I manage my devices, how I consume power, how is my lifestyle impacting the type of consumption pattern what I have. How are my people who are having equal lifestyle or equivalent lifestyle managing at a lower power? So these are the kind of things which a utility will be able to, or a discom or an utility company will be able to peep into the data, of course, with the kind of all the personal security or the data security intact. They will be able to come out with certain suggestions of what can enhance the experience of the end customer. So this is the whole journey what we have, right? And of course, cybersecurity end to end. So no questions asked. So again, as I said, like, it could be on network, it could be on hardware, it could be on data. How do you take care of the cybersecurity? If these are all the elements what you can take care of, then you would say that like you are definitely ahead, and you are going ahead in the right direction. Now, why I wanted to talk about this is because there are certain assets, certain accelerators which have been already deployed for our customers, and they are taking the best and the best advantage of this. Right now, quickly, if I look at like, so let us now touch upon, not of course all the elements I'm going to talk about. I'm only going to talk about 2-3 elements. Let's look at a complete a rollout manager. Now, you will have various stakeholders at the bottom. Like, one is the implementing agency, the field agents, and like you'll have one system integrator, then HES vendor, discoms, all those people, right? Lots and lots of data is going to come from them, right? Like, whether it is about the asset, whether it's about the workforce or the field force, whether it's about like the backhaul van, or like master data. So this entire data is going to come up, and that data is what is going to be sitting on the ingestion layer. Now, when you have the data on the ingestion layer, how best would you want to take advantage of this? So then comes the top portion. So you are looking at a deployment plan. Then you're talking about the inventories of the asset. How do you ramp up, ramp down, enrollment of your end customers. Then you're talking about like the events, and then you will have to have the KPIs all through in all the phases. So these are all the things, and you will have those assets and KPIs and the business process, everything drafted, documented. So this is a collation of industry best practices and the learnings which we have taken from various customers of ours. And then, I mean, being technology agnostic, I just now heard Rahul Sharmaji talking about like how you will be able to take advantage of certain elements in this area. So we are talking about like whether it is AWS or any other cloud service provider or any other IT OT integration. How do I remaining when staying technology agnostic? If you want to use all the business rules and create these KPIs and start going ahead and giving suggestions to our customers, there are a bunch of APIs and integrations which are built in and baked in. So a combination of best practices, combination of tools, combination of APIs. This is all what is there as part of our rollout manager, which is existing. Yeah. Now, further to that, if you are looking at, I will skip this and go to the next one very quickly because I wanted to show you something interesting. Is about the starting point is about the rollout planning, starting from production of a smart meter to warehousing, and how do I manage the supply chain, how do I install. So everything has to happen pretty seamlessly. It could be, as we spoke about, it's about like resource planning or a capacity planning, whether it is your own team, or is it like your field force. How do you hand off the data, or how do you hand off the equipment? And then like you're also looking at like a route planning, right? So it's a combination of multiple things. It's not so going to be very easy when you are looking at this. And during all this, there are always things like, okay, so the some customers preferences of rescheduling of implementation, and there will be some existing customers. If it's already a brownfield, there will be some people who will be moving in, moving out. So those are all the things which you need to look at. So everything you will have to do, course correct, do a what if analysis, and then get there. So now, while this is the overall rollout planning, let me show you the screen itself. Right now, this is the thing which we have done for or maybe elements of this with masked name of my customer, because I can't share that. So elements of this have already been implemented. Now, if you look at on the left side, you're talking about a planning period of 3 years, and a 2 million meters are supposed to be installed. And now you have certain inputs which you are going to plug into this tool. Now, how many would you install in a day? The number of working days. I mean, of course, it's given 26. Probably it is 21. Probably maybe 18 in some months. Then you have a crew, which is your own crew with a particular capability and competency. Now, just imagine the crew will eventually achieve or attain better competency as they start implementing and deploying this. And there will be some people who will be leaving, and some new fresh entrants will be there in the crew. Then how do you get that learning curve factor? So that learning curve factor you can see on the second column at the bottom, 1.2. Now there is of course cost and all. That leads to looking at, you will be able to only do 1.5 million installations in about 36 months. Now you are covering about 63%, blah, 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 numbers are there. Then you look at the bottom part of it. So you have the plan, and then you have an actual. Now with the actual, you will be able to relook at how do you want to do a what if analysis, which one you want to ramp up, how do you do a crew planning, are there any ways and means if I want to upskill or cross skill my crew and do a faster deployment. Do I have any lean days where I can go for higher installation of the meters? Multiple things can be done, and then like, as and when you do, may it be with a frequency of fortnight, a week, a quarter, a month, you will be able to rerun the plan, and then you will be able to come out with a most optimized plan. That's where we were talking about a base plan and then an optimized plan. So this is about the planning. Now, once you have done the planning, right? Like, so you have done the implementation of that. Now we are talking about how So you have gone ahead, you have planned, you have rolled out, you have implemented the meters. Then comes the monitoring of that. Now, this is also on the right side. If you are looking at, that is the actual screen of the dashboard, right? So it could be a 15 minutes frequency, it could be 30 minutes frequency, it could be a minute by minute frequency, which is going to be a little overkill though. So then you are going to get the data from the meters. Obviously, you will process, generate insights, but it's not about generating insights. How do you take an action on that, and how do you really automate the action? How efficiently will you be able to do that? That is exactly more important here. Now, on the right side, I'll go to the bottom of the left side. On the right side, if you are looking at, so this particular tool, what I'm talking about, has got your various tabs, which is like enrollment, planning, deployment, and then the health check. So because we are talking about alerts, I can go into each one of those and start talking about that. That's going to take a day though. So if we are looking at just the health check, now on the health check, and now you have, whether it is operational, you're talking about a neutral distribution disturbance, or it's an earth fault or an earth loading, or a low power factor or a voltage drop. So multiple things, right? Like then obviously the same thing on the overload. And at the bottom, you can also see an integrated Google map or a map interface, right? On the map interface, where are the hotspots and how do I really get there? And click on that, go deeper into it, identify what exactly you wanted to do and how you wanted to manage and how you wanted to send the crew out there. And this data, what you are looking at on the left side, 26,396 alerts, is just post go live, when you are looking at the first couple of months or first fortnight, where you are looking at how many number of tickets you have got or how many number of alerts got generated. And I obviously would want to focus on the high criticality wise. And then it also gives me a breakup of how many are in residential, how many are in commercial, and the opportunities are umpteen, right? Like, so you can also derive like, okay, the revenue loss for the utility, the brand impact for the utility, multiple things can be derived from the data what you're getting. So when you come down here, so whether it is like operational alert, overload alert, tamper, outage alert, these are all the alerts what you are going to manage through. And now this is the thing which I wanted to talk about. So this is the actual tool what we are talking about. So if we look at the previous one, what I said, the operational overload, tamper, outage. So now we can go into the graph, we can go into the maps, we can just select a particular area for all types of alerts. Then we will be able to go ahead and do the insights, go click and multiple things possible, right? Like, so you will be able to get to any level of granularity by just a click of a button and get into the details of that particular alert. And then once you have identified the alerts, then you are talking about processing that particular alert and resolving that particular incident, right? Now, for that, I'll have to get to the next one, right? Now, one is about managing that particular incident, and the other one is about the health check analysis, right? So there is an event, and one of those events could be on the ones which you wanted to do the automation, which I will touch upon a little later. Now, the other part of it is about the health check of the network itself, right? Now, when you are looking at the network health check, so we are talking about again, if we start with you're talking about like the standard communication network uptime monitoring. That's the starting point where you're looking at. If you are looking at like the uptime monitoring, then you generate again the events and alerts which are getting logged into your event master register. Then you go ahead and monitor the installation. You look at the performance, and then if there is any firmware upgrade required, the firmware upgrade will go into it. And this also will be able to take care of some cyber attacks as well when we are talking about a attack on the network, right? So on the right side, you can see the kind of the graph what you are looking at. Where is the disconnection time? What is the count of the disconnection? And how is this happening? And why is this happening? And how timely will I be able to go and address the disconnection time? And if it is in some scenarios, the meters will have that like inherent capability that like the moment the disconnection happens, it gives a SOS message. And that SOS message is the utmost important message because it's completely dead now. Going forward, it's not going to come back. It's not just an alert, but it's completely a dead scenario. So those are the kinds of things which you will be able to monitor from a network health check analysis. Right now, then when we are talking about, so we have events coming from network, events coming from the alerts, which is on the operational part of it. Now in that we have already discussed about like how do I do the insights, how do I generate the insights, how do I create the rules, right? So now this is also part of the tool what we are talking about, which has been deployed and implemented. When in this scenario, what you are looking at is how do I prioritize, right? Like, so you have the rule engine, you have created the entire algorithms of how do I prioritize the alerts and events. Now after that, like you obviously you would filter out all the low priority. Of course there will be a check on the authenticity of the prioritization as well, and then you will be able to course correct it over a period of time. And after that, you wanted to bake in the process automation. And I'm going to show you in the next screen as to how we have done it for that. Now, once you have done the process automation, so there is a self-heal capability. Now, wherever you need to have a restart, wherever you need to have a firmware upgrade, those things can be invoked easily, right? So, and at the same time, things like some invoking some APIs or creating a service order or a maintenance order for the field force to go and address also can be done. If there is any customer related challenges, those also can be plugged into, and you will be able to divert it to the respective teams. So even those can be done, and yet there will be some things which will still be left as unsuccessful. So the bottom portion, what you are seeing here, is the one which we will look into in the next screen. So yeah, I know, I think we are close to the time, but still I think let me go through it. So this is the chart what I'm looking at, right? Like, so if we see this, so you select the event category, select the time, select the area, and if you look at, so you can just pretty much make out this is the UK scenario where we are talking about Liverpool, Oxford, Manchester, and London. So you select all that, and then you have a bunch of events which have popped up. Now, what exactly is the event action? All those things have already got processed. So now, based on what has been processed, based on the priority, when I have triggered the automation has already taken care of resolving and self-healing a bunch of events here. Now, yet there are certain things which are showing up as unsuccessful, and those are the ones which we need to focus on. So once we focus on that, obviously the number of events which are going to land for you as a utility are going to be bare minimum, and those are the ones which might eventually get into an automation during the next cycle, or probably they really need a physical touch, and that is going to be diverted to an individual person or a physical person, right? This is about how do you really do the automation of it. So basically what we have seen is how do I start off managing the plan, managing the rollout, then I'm monitoring the events and alerts, and then I'm also looking at the network health, and then I'm automating and resolving the events and ensuring that, like, okay, things are taken care of in an automatic manner by self-heal mechanism, and the delta is what I'm going to address by providing a touch support by a field force. So we spoke about implementation and rollout. We spoke about the advantage what a utility company will get or should look at and will get when you are taking care of these kind of challenges which are there. Now, what's in it for the end customer? Right? Like, I'm an end customer. I keep talking about this famous example of mine that, like, I have a solar rooftop every time, right? But, like, okay, for me, am I really getting anything if I have a smart meter? So that is where, when I'm talking about, like, what is the end customer getting, so it has to be a win-win, right? A utility also have to gain, and an end customer also has to gain something out of it. That is where we talk about this non-intrusive load monitoring, right? So where we are talking about as a residential home, or maybe even a business corporate office, then you have a smart meter and you pull out all the data, and then you are going ahead and doing a non-intrusive algorithms have been baked in, and you are trying to monitor the load, of course, with giving due respect to the data privacy issues. Then you have you can trigger certain campaigns, right? So what we are talking about is here, for just for the example sake, we have given some 4 categories or 4 types, right? So one is the appliances which are just like on and off, right? So whether they are smart, not they are they not smart, or do I give the test sample data upfront, and I also give the ratings of each of my equipment, and based on that I will be able to write an algorithm. But nowadays we have so many smart meters and smart bulbs and smart fans available, right? So they are automatically, they are in a position to provide that data to a device which is going to collect the data. However, even if that is not there, there are ways and means of how you will be able to pick the data. Then there are like finite machines, state of machines, which are going to be on for a certain period of time. Some are like, okay, variable. When they are on, they consume a lot of power, but they are not. I mean, in general, they are switched off. And there are certain things which are going to be continuously running, right? Like, so I have a big, huge aquarium at home, which is going to continuously run because the filter has to run and the heater has to run. So while here it is written as smoke detector as an example, right? Now, based on this, then if you look at on the campaign management on the right, now looking at the consumption pattern of the customer, which is picked up through the smart meter, what we are looking at and giving some suggestion is there any energy efficiency type which we need to tips which we are supposed to give to our customer? Are we going to tell that like you have to change the appliance because it has reached its end of life? Like, are we going to suggest our end customer that like, okay, so during the peak load, this is how it is happening, so you wanted to just shift the load between one to another, and then like maybe if you have a solar rooftop, you want to shift your peak load, which is potentially can be managed to move to the timing where you are generating your own power or a captive power. And of course then there is an EV tariff and on multiple things. So on the right side you will find lots of campaigns which are listed down based on the consumption pattern and the scenarios which are there on the left side. So these are all the insights which are driven. I can show you multiple demos and all that stuff, right? So okay, let me just go through. So a very quick 10 seconds which we are talking about. So this is where we are talking about a non-intrusive load, where I am looking at this customer who's on a single phase, took the data for 15-minute snapshot, and then we are trying to look at like, okay, how each and every equipment is behaving, and what is the daily consumption pattern, and so on and so forth, and like what is the, I mean, how efficient are you? And then we are coming out and telling that like which are all the campaigns which you can run through, and also the weightage of the campaign which will make more sense. So you are basically, the data which is coming from your smart meter is helping you to take to the next level. Yeah, so of enhancing the customer experience. Now with that said, maybe the last one which I wanted to talk about, so we spoke about all those things, and as I said, it is about the cyber security, or it is about ensuring the security of the entire smart meter, because it's highly vulnerable, right? We are not talking about something which is not known. It could be an attack on the network, right? Typically, the black hole attacks are a routing where a malicious node can drop all the packets that a smart meter is supposed to receive, so nothing comes, right? So these are the things which you wanted to ensure that like they are not hit. Now, similarly, when we are talking about a physical security attack, right? So attackers can send malicious data to destroy the physical system, such as I mean, like the draining of the battery, or remotely connecting and disconnecting meters, and then gaining access to the smart meter boards through an interface and reprogramming it. Multiple things can happen. Right now, we wanted to prevent all those. So I mean, program the smart meter upfront for all combinations of tamper alerts, basically, when we are talking about physical. Then there should be an implicit, of course, a measure put in place to put a utility ahead of the hackers, right? Let's say to prevent malicious codes from changing the smart meter settings, locked registers can be used and unlocked before they can be rewritten, something like that, right? Then there are like attacks on the data, right? Now, so I mean, the most significant attacks that completely threaten is the information privacy or an intrusion to stored data, which targets smart meter firmware through a malware, right? Now, in the deregulated electricity market, a hacker can also control the time day ahead of pricing of regional transmission organizations. That is going to be really serious. Now, there are multiple ways and means. I think the systems are vulnerable. The more we go smart, the more it is going to be under the attack of these cyber crimes. So I think there are options. There is a combination of best practices, the assets and accelerators what we have, and the tools which we have already deployed to other customers, and the lessons we have learned over the period. So what we are looking at is to look for our customers to take the best advantage. And with that said, I think I would just leave one small thing. So whatever I spoke is a combination of a couple of customers, but this is one snapshot of my customer in UK with about 5.7 million customers, and we have been working with them for last 10 years. We had insights into what they are already doing, and that's where we ensure that like when we heard the business challenge of the customer, we fast tracked the entire implementation of the smart meters or the AMI. And then we went ahead, and obviously there is a huge amount of cost saving, low carbon footprint, and the customer experience has been enhanced. And this customer has even gone ahead with a monitoring of a business process dashboard or a business process KPI dashboard. And that advanced is this customer at, and looking forward for each one of you also to get there. Yeah, so that's all. And I have Kshama Joshi or myself, kshama.m.joshi@accenture.com, or myself for any questions or any further queries which we will be able to take through. Yeah, I see already the next speaker in, so I'll just see if there are any questions.
Well, audience, any questions?
Good. Either I have completely thoroughly confused everyone, or I'm so crystal clear that like there are no questions. And with due respect to the time.
So there is a question.
Okay. Is alert management possible with the existing network? Not everyone. Okay. So yes, it is possible. There are ways and means of how you want to route it. I mean, we will want to look at like what kind of alerts are you looking at. It's not, I mean, nothing is impossible, right? It's just that like we need to understand the use case more, and we should be able to work on that. So you can ping me separately if you want to, or route the question to me. One of my team members or myself will be able to hop onto a call very shortly, and then we'll be able to work through. But it is possible, yeah.
So we have one more question, one last question.
I only got one question which is popping up on my feed. What is the average time duration to implement and run in a utility company having 70 lakh consumers? 70 lakh consumers. So we were talking about 2 million, which is 20 lakhs over 3 years, but that is number of meters. I think it's a bit of a question. It's a bit of a math. Let me not directly give you an answer right now. Whoever it is, if the MC can help me get the question with the person who was asked, I'll come back on that. I don't want to give an answer right now on the call.
Sure, I'll do that. Thank you so much for this session.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take time.